Welcome to Mountain High Adventures, YouTube channel for adults, where we talk about all things mountains, cannabis, and adventure running. Welcome back, adventurers. We're out here on the trails of Mount Charleston again, just outside of Las Vegas, Nevada. You can see Mount Charleston off in the distance behind me. We're gonna do a big summit run loop today, so follow along. In this video, I'm gonna be talking about some training tips and my experience from running the Tushars Mountain Runs Ultras. So stay tuned, I'm gonna give you guys some insight to that race and what to expect. The Tushars is a mountain and ultra trail marathon organized by Aravaipa Running, and we all know Aravaipa puts on great races. Shout out to Aravaipa, kudos for all the hard work you put into the trail and mountain running community. The Tushars range is littered with 10, 11, and 12,000 foot peaks that are rugged and steep and very unforgiving. It's a beautiful, beautiful area, and it's got a very special place in my heart. I've run the race twice, and so I'm gonna give you guys some insight to my experience over the last couple of years out in the Tushars mountain runs. The Tushars race offers 4 distances. They have a half marathon, they have a marathon, which I ran in 2017. They just added a 70K, which I ran last year in its inaugural year. And they also have a 100K. All of the races start at Eagle Point Ski Resort, which sits right around 10,000 feet in elevation. And they climb up from there. And all 4 races summit Delano Peak, which is over 12,000 feet in elevation. So most of the course is above 10,000 feet. It's hard to run up there. Elevation plays a big role. So I want to go into a little more detail about the 70K race, what my training looked like last year. The spring leading up to the Tushars race last year, I ran a trail marathon and I ran a mountain trail ultra 50K. And so I had kept a pretty decent training schedule the whole spring. And the 3-week block leading up to Tushars looked something like this. My goal for the 3 weeks leading up to Tushars was to try to get at least about 50 miles of distance training and at least 10,000 feet of elevation gain in vert. As it turned out, looking at my Strava data from last year, those 3 weeks, I got pretty close to those targets, and I actually increased the vert and I increased the time on feet a little bit each of those 3 weeks leading up to the race. I suggest trying to get some higher altitude training in. Getting your lungs used to breathing that thin air will help you out in the Tushars race. Get up to Mount Charleston, that's where I'm at today. You can get up to 11,900 feet at the Charleston summit. You need to be up there at least once a week training for the Tushars race. My final long training run I did before the 70K, I did the Ronathon, which is a marathon mountain run here in the Spring Mountains that we named after Ron Hammett, who's the Las Vegas GOAT ultra runner. Amazing guy. I hope to have him on the Mountain High Adventures channel someday to shed some knowledge on longevity and long mountain ultra running. But anyway, it's a 26-mile mountain run, and I think I got 7,000 feet of vert. That was my last long run about 5 days before the race. So if you can have a few strong weeks of time on your feet and some pretty stout elevation gains, then you should be prepared for a good Tushars mountain run race. Now for a few quick race day tips. I would suggest taking a super light windbreaker / rain jacket with you. You could potentially run into a little bit of rain, so take that. Also take trekking poles. I wouldn't do this race without trekking poles. Maybe the half marathon you could get away with, but the marathon for sure, and anything longer than that, you're gonna want trekking poles. The climbs in this course are so long and brutal. Those trekking poles come in handy, and they're really not that much of a hassle to carry when you're running downhill, so don't worry about them getting in the way. They're gonna be more help than they are of an obstacle for you on this race. Also, race day tip, I would suggest saving your legs for late in the race, especially for the 70K course. There is a brutal 3,000 to 4,000 foot climb up to the summit of South Edna Peak, I believe that's what it's called, between mile 28 to like 32. And it's just this super long sustained climb. I'm gonna put a picture in this video of the terrain and the elevation profile so you can see this brutal climb. late in the race, and you're gonna need your legs when you get to that climb. So I suggest saving yourself. You know, make it a goal to get to that climb with enough gas in the tank to do that without completely spending yourself, because you still have 8 or 10 miles of mountain course running after that climb to make it back to the finish. So there you have it. I also utilized a drop bag for this race, and I had some food that I like that I know I can eat during ultras. I had a spare change of socks and change of shoes, which I don't think I changed shoes, but I did change socks. And just that little bit of, you know, freshness on your feet can really make the difference late in a race. So use those aid stations to the maximum, and use the drop bag in case, you know, you're having trouble with your gear or your nutrition and hydration. As far as tapering for this race, I didn't really use one. I'm not a big fan of the idea of tapering. I really think that you want to be mobile and active. I actually went out to Tushars a few days early, and I climbed Belknap Peak the day before the race, which is an 11,000 foot peak in the same range. You know, the idea for me is that you never want to push your body so hard that you can't be active and mobile the next day. So I was staying mobile, staying active and loose, and I wound up having a great race, and I wasn't completely destroyed the next day. Hey, real quick, smash that red subscribe button for me. Give me a like or a thumbs up, and shoot me a comment down below. Also, you can turn on the notification bell so you get notified whenever I upload new videos to YouTube. So that's gonna wrap up my tips for the Tushars Ultra. Hope you guys find some valuable information in there from my experience and knowledge about that area. This is gonna wrap up this Mountain High Adventures YouTube episode. Thanks again for following along, my friends. Many more adventures to come.